I got Deku from a My Hero bath bomb. I squeezed it between my butt cheeks so it came as a surprise. It warmed me up. Anyways, let's get into Frieren that aired today. What a absolutely gorgeous conclusion to this week's episode. Honestly, Studio Madhouse, they're cooking. They're cooking up a high quality action sequence next week, because just the way this final scene was, it's just like, oh crap, like things are about to go down. Like, we're about to see a crazy fight between mages. We're about to probably see, Frieren versus Denken. It's going to legitimately probably be an absolute incredible fight, because judging by the way the two characters are and the dialogue we got in the middle of this episode, it's very clear that Denken is very, very sure of his power, but at the same time, he honors and respects those as well, and he respects Frieren. He knows who Frieren is. He isn't going into this fight without, knowledge, pre-existing knowledge. He knows who Frieren is. He knows how strong she is, and because of that, that's what makes this very fight so interesting, is because who is going to win? Who's going to come out on top? And obviously, everybody watching this show is going to be on Frieren's side. She is the MC. People are going to be like, she needs to win this. But I love this little sequence here. It's just such a good little sequence when the whole ground begins to raise. You just see these two mages that obviously have experienced a lot. Frieren clearly more than the other, but they are very seasoned individuals. I don't know, this is just such a good little moment here. I especially love the, particle effects with, the dust and dirt going over Denken's face. It's very simplistic, but I love it. It just shows the concentration and focus he currently has against Frieren, but also how he's talking about everyone else around them. Like, they're very hot-blooded. They are just, acting too crazy with their magic or showy. You don't necessarily need to be too showy to be a good mage. I don't know. I love everything about the way this episode presents this sequence. And it's just, like I said, it really makes me anticipate next week's episode. Because Denken, ever since, last week's episode when I talked about him, he was an interesting character. He came off as someone that might be very calloused or cold and not caring about people. But after watching his interactions in the previous episode, in this episode, he's not someone that wants mindless bloodshed. He thinks that, killing someone over becoming a first-class mage is not worth it. He's like, it's not worth it whatsoever, even if he knows the privilege of why it would be, people would have the incentive to want to become a first-class mage. He's like, nah, it's not worth killing people over. I love his character. He's come off as a very interesting fellow, and I'm curious to see how Frieren, interacts with him. What kind of magic is he going to cast? Because he's so sure of himself. He's very sure that he can tackle someone that was a part of the party of heroes. And it's like, to fight or face someone like that, you gotta have a lot of confidence in yourself. Either you have a lot of strength to back it up, or you're someone that's just kind of stupid. And I'm curious which is he's gonna lay on, which side he's gonna kind of end up on, because everything about this fight, it's just like he's a very smart individual from at least what we've seen. So I don't think he's an individual that, would pick a fight with Frieren if he didn't know he could win or something. So I don't know, just, yeah, I love this. As you can clearly see, I'm getting very, very excited. I have a lot of passion for this moment. It just, it is super cool. But okay, let's back up for a second, and let's talk about some of the other scenes from this episode. I really love this interaction between this other team here, because it kind of showcases a bonding segment in that even if we don't have, for instance, Frieren, our main female character, in the spotlight, the series can still be very strong and tell a very good story with minor characters. Even if they might not ever appear again within the story, they do have some significance, and it gets to show kind of the world interaction and how mages treat each other, and even people that come off as very calloused or cold because of their design or because of just the way their magic is, typically, can be something else entirely. And I love, the way it's presented here is that people's magic is, of essence, who they really are, which was mentioned in the episode. If your magic is used to still people or stall time, usually it means you're someone that may just be very indecisive, or someone that, just might not want to kill somebody, which is, what led to the conclusion of this episode. It was a very nice little minor segment that kind of kind of showcased, mages and how they can incorporate their personality into their very skills. And I do like, what we got here with Fern as well and her magic, because it kind of perfectly represents who she is too, is that Frieren is taught Fern to kind of be very emotionless, because Fern comes off like that. She comes off like someone that's very just silent. She doesn't really have much emotion in her magic. It just seems very soulless, but very scary at the same time because it's very silent. And when she attacks you, it's just like this barrage of brute force of just basic ordinary magic, and it's just savage. It just attacks you in such a savage way, but it's a very silent and just boring way to express it. I don't know, I love that of how the personality is mixed in with magic, and that was kind of dived into in this episode of Frieren. It's really cool. Little details like that really go a long way to really establish a lot about characters in the world and magic, and like, when we see people's magic going forward, we can assume like, okay, so this magic, the reason why they use this is probably because their personality might be more manipulative or controlling, which this perfectly represents Aura, which, is long dead at this point, but I guess this is a good segue to talk about that. Thanks to finding out that magic kind of represents the individual, we gotta think about, Aura. Her very magic was basically with a skill to control people, completely manipulate people's bodies and stuff, and she had that personality of just manipulation and control, or, just someone that always needed to have the upper hand, and it perfectly represents her personality, like just her very magic did. And when you think about Frieren's magic and who she is, she might be a jack of all trades and have a lot of different weird magic, but one of her most iconic spells is just to be able to kill demons. It really shows in her personality, like just her animosity towards demons and stuff, and her magic really is powerful in that regard. So, like, we get to really see just how people are with their magic, with their personalities. Just super cool. I don't know. I like the way this episode presented that. Not many people might care as much as I do, but it's just, I love that type of stuff. Call me a nerd, whatever you want to call me, but I love those little details with world building and characterization and stuff. Now, besides that, we also have, kind of like the teachers and stuff watching from the background or the side, just kind of talking about why someone would want to be a first-class mage, but also, just the trials and what you need to be able to attain it. For instance, luck is a big skill that people have, but also, the whole trial is mainly just about combat. Like, these two test givers basically say that, yeah, they need to capture a bird and have their team with them, but the real point was to pit these mages up against each other to see really who is the most powerful. That's what they're trying to gauge, and that's what they want. So that's honestly very interesting. So they wanted a brawl to begin with. That's exactly what they wanted from this test to begin with. They wanted people to die. Now, anyways, with all that being said, another detail I do want to talk about is the, this elf here. This person that, has all knowledge of every spell in humanity's history. This is huge. A really huge little detail. I don't know much about this character, obviously, and we've seen this character kind of appear in openings, so we don't know exactly what their full role is going to be, but it's clear from their ear design, knife ears, they're an elf. Now, if they're as old or older than Frieren, that is left to be seen. However, if I had to take an educated guess, like if I had to assume, okay, I'm going to assume that this elf is someone that Frieren has lost to. Because if you remember a few episodes back, Frieren established that she has lost quite a few times in her life. I think she lost 4 times to elves. So if that is indeed the case, it's very clear that this elf right here might have been the one that defeated Frieren. Because, she probably knows a lot more than Frieren does. So that's my 2 cents on the matter, I'm assuming, but regardless, I do think that this very individual that is from Denken's party, mentioning about this individual that is a living grimoire is going to entice Frieren to seek after her to find out, more about these magic spells and stuff, because Frieren, one of her main objectives within the story is to legitimately hunt down different grimoires and just magic. So, finding out an individual can give you any spell you want, or basically is a walking grimoire, that's going to entice Frieren to definitely go visit her. So, even if she doesn't become, let's say, a first-class mage, Frieren is going to hunt after this person. I also do think, though, this is going to give more of an incentive for Frieren to want to win the, the mage tournament, or, basically become a first-class mage, because she's going to want to know different spells, any spell she desires. And that brings up a very curious question. If Frieren is theoretically interested in meeting this person and getting any spell she desires, will she find a spell for revival? That's something that came into my head. Think about this, okay? One of the big things that the series earlier established, like early on within the story, is that there was a moment where Frieren was looking at a old tome, translating it, and it potentially had a spell to either extend your life, so to speak. Just make your life live a lot longer, like a fountain of youth, so to speak. And I wonder if that is a spell Frieren will ask for. Either that or resurrection. Because when you think about magic, one of the big things that everybody thinks about, especially with this series with someone that's lived a long life, that can live on for thousands of years, is either to bring someone back from the dead, or to be able to extend someone's lifespan. And I wonder if Frieren does go to this individual, if she'll ask that. Like, hey, can you give me a spell to extend someone's life, like Fern's life, Stark's life? Or will you give me a spell to resurrect the dead? Very curious about that. I wonder if that is even possible within this story. We'll have to see. But, yeah, overall, great episode of Frieren. Seriously love it. Cannot wait to see what happens next week. I feel like Studio Madhouse is about to cook up a seriously cool episode. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, stay healthy. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Chibi out.